I was 6 weeks away from leaving my husband when he made a reservation at an Italian restaurant 40 minutes from our house and didn't say a single word about why. He had no idea I'd already rehearsed the conversation I was going to have with my mother. My name is Danny, and 6 months ago I was sitting in Priya's kitchen at maybe 10 at night, letting 2 of my closest friends tell me my marriage was over. Not in a mean way. That's the thing that made it so hard to dismiss. They weren't being cruel. They were being careful, the way people are when they've rehearsed something. Priya had printed nothing, said nothing dramatic, just poured me a glass of wine and looked at me like I was already a widow. Her sister was there too, let's call her Bex, and Bex had gone through a divorce 2 years prior and wore it like a credential now. You've been unhappy for a year, Priya said. Maybe longer. She wasn't wrong. My husband, I'll call him Theo, had been somewhere else for a long time. Not physically gone. Worse than that. Present but absent. Sitting across from me at dinner and looking at his phone. Coming to bed after I was asleep. Forgetting the small things, then the medium things, and eventually I stopped tracking what he forgot because the list got too heavy. We'd had one bad night in particular. His parents' anniversary dinner, all of us dressed up, and Theo spent most of it with his jaw tight and his eyes somewhere past my shoulder. On the drive home I asked him what was wrong. He said nothing. I said something back. By the time we pulled into our driveway we weren't speaking, and I cried in the bathroom for 20 minutes while he watched TV. That was the night I started actually listening when Priya said things. So when she sat me down and said leave, I was close. I won't pretend I wasn't. I had started doing the math in my head the way you do when you're too scared to admit you're doing it. Whose apartment I could stay in first. Whether my job had enough flexibility. How to explain it to my parents, who loved Theo. I went home that night and Theo was still awake, which surprised me. He was at the kitchen table, not on his phone. Just sitting there with a glass of water like he'd been waiting. He asked if I was okay. I said I was tired. He nodded and said he knew things hadn't been right and he was sorry. I'd heard versions of that before so I just said goodnight. But something shifted after that. Slowly, and then faster than I expected. He started doing things. Not grand things, not apologies wrapped in flowers. Specific things. He remembered I'd mentioned, weeks earlier, that I missed the little Italian place we used to go to before it closed, and he found a similar one 40 minutes away and just told me to be ready Saturday. No big speech. Just showed up with the address. He started praying with me again before we slept. We hadn't done that in over a year. One Sunday morning before church he made breakfast and sat down and actually talked to me. Not about schedules or logistics. Just talked. I remember thinking, who is this? I didn't ask him what changed. I was afraid if I made it a big thing he'd get self-conscious and stop. But about 6 weeks and I finally said something like, you've been different, what happened, and he looked a little caught off guard and then just said he started the Stoke Challenge and he was trying to do it right. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't ask. He didn't offer more. But I thought about Priya's kitchen. I thought about the math I'd been doing in my head. I thought about the drive home from his parents' anniversary dinner and how I'd cried in the bathroom while he watched TV. And I thought about that Saturday, 40 minutes each way, at a table that smelled like garlic and candles, where he reached across and held my hand and didn't look at his phone once. Priya still thinks I should have left. I don't know how to explain to her that I'm glad I didn't.